Bouncing in unease, the Central Cali ambassador, Tshirt, awaits in front of her comm screen. She fights every instinctual urge to scratch the sides of her aged head, not daring to be caught doing so for when the call finally comes. She must appear to be as resolute as she feels about what's to come. But this new plan that's in place, it's unsettling even knowing it serves the greater good of the Cali people. Sacrifices must be made, and terribly horrific actions are to be carried out, but it will all be justified by the end. When the stardust settles, the Cali people will recognize that as fact, or at the very least, be grateful that they did not fall into the pits that the rest of the galaxy will be subject to. The screen finally blinks to an image of a practically ancient male Cali figure, adorned in the uniform of the Royal Admiralty. Even to the elder ambassador, this male is old enough to be her grandfather. His 4 horns were overly long and crooked in random directions. His once bright pink fur was so thin, the clear outline of his soft chitin could be seen. One of his eyes was completely dead grey, while the remaining red still barely held onto its previous vibrant, glowing red colour.
"Ambassador, state your report for His Highness,"
he said sternly, in a hollow escape of air that hardly qualified as a voice, and needed technological amplification assistance to be properly perceived.
"Admiral Klin Chunamka, I'm afraid there are rumblings and whispers making their rounds throughout all the Central Ambassadors regarding the Manarians, although most don't yet have details or so much as a grasp of the full picture. I'm uncertain how long that will remain the case with this new Federation in play. It's of my prediction they will present a case to properly reveal the impending invasion, including our people's role in it," she reports. "As expected. Very well. You are permitted to withdraw from Central. Once you are en route home, the grand fight for our future among the stars will begin," the Admiral replies.
The ambassador takes a shocked step back on unsteady hooves, not only of the presented timeline, but the implications.
Of course. I didn't expect our plans to accelerate that soon, but understood. How will we be notifying our people within Central to evacuate? Certainly my staff alone will take a day to ensure.
She begins to inquire before being interrupted.
"We cannot afford for Central to be tipped on what's coming. You and your personal staff will be leaving discreetly. That will be all," the Admiral informs. But with all due respect, Admiral, hundreds of thousands of our people reside here.
Certainly our king can send out a special summons, the ambassador tries to argue, before being cut off once more, but from a very different chirping voice.
"I will not."
The screen blinks to a Cali male rarely ever seen in public in recent years. Tshirt bows her head quickly in submission, feeling her old hearts race like they were youthfully panicked.
"Your Majesty,"
she utters, with the deepest of respect. Sitting in his seized throne, King Lovia Mataz glares fiercely at the ambassador, as though she is standing right before him.
"You are well aware of what's to arrive, and understand that the stars themselves may have to burn in the coming fire. My wish isn't to allow our people to perish in the midst of it, but for our survival, we must accept that many will. If you wish to not become one of them, then depart CHS without delay once you step away from this convening,"
he orders, in a chillingly calm tone.
"Of course, Your Majesty,"
Tshirt responds, more out of reflex than intent. King Lovia tilts his head up, causing the decorating chimes straight from his pristine, long, uptight horns to sing their holy clinks.
"Good. Your empathy to our own is admirable, Ambassador. But don't let it corrupt the opportunity we have to keep our people's future prosperous. Your work to ensure it thus far will be rewarded as deserved. Before I dismiss you, is there anything more you can share of the terrorist rebel, Chakalotta?
Nothing of great significance, Your Majesty. Though her involvement with the recently founded Federation is undoubtedly reason to believe eliminating her would be all the more difficult to accomplish. I believe the Tsar may have promised something along the lines as a protective agreement, though to what extent I am not certain.
Tilting his head to the side ever so slightly, the king appeared to consider something.
She has proven to be far more capable and effective than I would have expected, but her existence is no longer of concern. She will perish in what's to come regardless. That will be all, Ambassador. We will speak again upon your arrival to Sind Mortaz.
Yes, Your...
Cheektrasser manages to say, before the call abruptly ends. She stares blankly ahead as the gravity of the situation numbs her legs into brief immobility. It's beginning. The time of galactic calamity and rebirth. Never have the stars known of something of this magnitude, but it will soon enough. Not knowing how long she stands there, the now ex-ambassador scratches at the sides of her face before she starts to turn towards the door. It's time to leave Central for the last time. While she makes her discreet exit from the CSH, taking a private vessel swiftly free from the gargantuan station, the audible news reports play like any other day. Though the main topic is quite novel, and still seen as so hugely unprecedented by the galactic communities that make up Central. Soon, all will be educated on what the proper scales of unprecedented truly means. Up on many screens and media audio outputs, the interested people of Central listen in, including particular visitors seeking answers. In a cozy refreshment establishment, drinking from purchased beverages, Thera lounges while Brad intently scrolls through a datapad. The recently formed Federation of Terrans, Mick, Zatuk, Wataf, Grat, and Skrilla have announced the title of their sudden allegiance as the FSA, or the Federated Safeguard Alliance, and many are still speculating on what brought it together, only stoking the concerns of why this federation was formed in the first place. A news reporter says, on a corner media screen within Thera's line of sight. In a press conference to promote ease amongst Central and its associates, Ambassador Zreek announced that the FSA's purpose is to aid in the security of the galaxy, especially outside Central's territories. In assurance, although the FSA will act as an independent body from Central, Zreek has said that they intend on working and coordinating very closely with Central. Some find this relieving, while others find even more suspect. The Krieger ambassador, Sugma Balls, had a particularly colourful response that brought up concerns about having a potential rival power so close to Central's affairs and operations, though he was the most outspoken of those wary of the FSA's intentions, especially with the runaway Cali princess's peculiar involvement. Thera places her drink down and hummed a tired chorus. I have a feeling that whatever we're still owed by the princess will soon be a public domain, she comments. Think so? Brad replies, before scratching at his mostly bald head. Could still be worth acute credit to us if the governments hold on to it, he points out. Plenty of opportunities to find interested buyers. Thera sings a sigh and shakes her head. The credits are important, I know, but remember our mission is to uncover the secrets of the past for enlightenment of all the stars, she counters. By enlightenment of all, you mean the prestige thrown your way, the man chuckles. Our way, dear Brad, Thera corrects amusingly, leaning into his teasing. You are the one who does a lot of the footwork for me, after all. That's just 'cause I'm not the one made of gelatinized papier-mâché, boss, Brad says, as he sets his datapad down flat on the table between them. "But you do drown oh so easily," she points out. "Sure, but as long as you don't introduce me to your folks in person, I think I'll avoid that fate pretty damn easily," he jokes. Rolling her head, Thera releases another, more dramatic sigh. "If I'm ever dwelling on my homeworld's waters ever again, something would have to have gone so very wrong," she notes. "Well, considering what's going on there right now, I doubt you'll be able to get there even if you wanted to. So there's that," Brad says, before glancing at the screen and back to Thera. "You really think the public will be in the know?" "Almost certainly," Thera replies. "This Federation didn't form together from long-established rivals and enemies for something that can be so easily covered up. People will come to know what's wrong, regardless if they are told. I have the rising suspicion that the stars will never be the same very soon." "Yeah? Good thing we have one of the best ships to hide away in, huh?" the man says, as he spins the datapad in circles, with a finger pushing the corner. "Indeed," Thera agrees, as she picks up the datapad with her fur-like grasper plumes. Though instead of looking at the information, she tastes at every alien molecule on the object itself. "You're scared," she notes softly, as she detects the peculiar traces of Terran sweat and alarm pheromones within it. "Aren't you?" Brad shrugs. "For once I'm questioning if I really want to know what's going on. It's big. And from how things are hashing out, it ain't good big." "I'm terrified. But like most things in life, willful ignorance is only a temporary comfort. Only by knowing what's occurring can we prepare for it," she replies, before setting the pad down and trays it for Brad's hand. "You are my best friend, Brad, whatever it is, and whatever fate befalls us. Thank you for your loyalty and sharing so many adventures with me. This life of mine has been and will be exceptional." Brad smirks. "Bit early for preemptive goodbyes, don't you think? You are so damn dramatic, boss," he says. "Sides, not like I can hide much from you with you constantly tasting me," he adds, although not pulling his hand away. After a few standard seconds of Thera intensely staring at him in silence, he rolled his eyes. "Alright, fine. When you first offered me adventure, and I laughed thinking you were one brave prostitute, well, I guess I'll just say you are brave, and I'm ready for the next shitstorm we find ourselves in. With your brains," he says, finishing with suspended expectation. "And your grit," Thera pleasantly inputs, "we'll make it out okay. And if not," he says, as he lifts the trooper's grasper in an arm-wrestling position, "it would be the end to one hell of an adventure," Thera finishes with several slow nods. Brad's smile widens slightly. "Well, I think we've been here long enough. We ought to reconvene with the rest of the crew and see what they've gathered that couldn't be transmitted," he says, while leaning back in his seat. "Turbrains already think I'm ploughing your netherbeak whenever you take me out for fruity booze and vaguely flirt. I'd hate to give them more ammunition." Still holding on to the man's paw, Thera lets out a genuine laugh. "Oh, but their ribbing on you amuses me so much," she teases. "You have such a way with words, boss," Brad mumbles, "and the giddiness of a preppy high school bully." "And you always take it in stride," she counters playfully. "Who knows? Maybe one of these days we may explore that particular adventure." "As if. You nearly vomited when you saw your first naked Terran." "You're brave, but not that brave," he reminds in a snicker, and a wave of his free hand. "So? I also vomited when I first tried pickles, but I've grown to like them," she counters. "I swear, if you compare what I got to a damn pickle, I'm selling the club and walking away," Brad said in a serious tone, though the trooper knows him well enough to know he's been quite the opposite. "Won't know till I see it," she continues to tease. Brad raised a night aft. "Out of curiosity, Thera, what would you call us?" he questions, as the usual play flirting starts to feel different. I told you, best friends, the trooper replies honestly, though there's something else lacing her words. Outside of that, no matter what label is put on it in the future, that fact will never not be true, she assures. If you're asking if I'm like that bold Cali princess, no. I believe me and her are very different in what we care about in those sorts of things.
Brad pursed his lips and nodded. Look, Thera, this back and forth we do, I'm all for it. It's fun. But in case you actually need reminding, I'd easily kill you.
It would be quite the final adventure, though, Thera replies.
Thera, Brad asserts, in a very serious tone.
Giving in to his desire for a more serious conversation, the trooper sings a sigh and retracts her grasper enough to hook on to just the man's fingers. Alright, real talk. I must admit my curious nature is very tempted by the idea. I mean, physically, I can't say Terrans do much for me, but emotionally, especially with you and how you show your concern and respect, without a touch of the possessiveness I am so vehemently disgusted by, I'd at least like to open that conversation sometime soon, she readily admits.
So since you think the galaxy might be ending soon, you might as well go out in a bang? Brad asks, causing them both to laugh. Despite his want for seriousness, he just couldn't help himself.
If I am to be frank, kinda. I understand that's not flattering for you to hear, but it's the truth. And to be clear, I don't expect to actually die from it, but I understand injury on my end would be a significant concern. But if the universe is thrown upside down, that experience with you would be on the bucket list, before we are caught up to. If you are game, that is. I won't pretend that it wouldn't be very traumatizing for both of us, if you happen to accidentally plow me to my demise, Thera shrugs.
Fuck. You're actually serious, Brad realizes.
I am, Thera confirms in her chorus of a voice.
The man plants his free hand over his face, and drags it off as he wrestles with his thoughts. No, Thera, I can't in good conscience consider that. You are my best friend. I'd do anything for and with you. But that just sits outside the limits of anything, he ends up determining.
Very well, Thera accepts. Would you permit me to bring this conversation back up if my worst suspicions come true? She inquires.
Like, if it's galactic-wide apocalyptic shit? Sure. In fact, if that happens, I'll probably be far more game. But for many reasons, I'm not rooting for that to happen. And honestly, don't expect it to. That's just shit you see in movies and games, he answers before picking up the datapad.
Since we're being serious right now, may I ask one more question from you? Thera asks.
Shoot, the man shrugs with a single shoulder.
Thera opens her mouth to ask her quandary, but her jaw slowly drops at what she sees behind the man, through the establishment's tall windows. Her question fades from her mind in a near instant, as her mind is filled with very real terror.
Thera, Brad says, noticing the trooper make an expression he knows isn't at all good.
What the actual fuck? She whispers in genuine terror. Brad, contact the crew. Get us out of here, now, she pleads.
Furrowing his brow, the man turns his head around. Nothing could have prepared him for what he witnessed. Down the travel lane, not even 3 blocks away from them, is a torrenting swarm of massive, crustacean creatures. Like ravenous feral animals, they plundered for every living soul in their spreading path. People of all creeds flee for their lives, but if unfortunately caught in sharp, powerful pincers, are torn to absolute shreds, and they are the lucky ones to perish. Thera and Brad start to hear the screams of fear and agony, as people are eaten alive while their hunters don't so much as mercy kill, while continuing to rampage.
After the initial shock of the cosmically absurd sight passes, Brad stands and rushes to Thera. She quickly arises, clasping onto his back with every tentacle and appendage. She fully wraps herself, not only to hold on tight, but to reduce the drag she would cause, because this Terran takes off, out of the establishment, faster than he has ever accomplished in his life. As she looks back at the crustacean carnage spreading like an infecting virus, Thera curses the universe for proving her intuition so horribly correct so soon. Guilt racks her, as though she's the cause of all this. The coincidence is beyond uncanny. If the ancient troubadour deity of deceit, pranks, and death is actually real, she supposes this is the most concrete proof she will ever need. Simone manually drives the rover into the parking dock and activates the procedure to fill the space with artificial atmosphere. Chuck walks up next to her and gives the redhead a tender hug.
This was perfect,
the Callie chirps lovingly.
Wish it could last longer,
Simone agrees.
I know, but our children no doubt have missed us,
Chuck points out, as she squeezes her snuggle.
Yeah, for sure. It's just...
Simone replies, as she tilts her head back to view the closed entry and exit door to the rover. I wish the rest of our lives could be like this. This at ease, blissful, whatever you want to call it.
Me too, love. More than anything, that's what I want. So let's make sure we find ourselves like this again someday.
We're not wasting that vacation reservation on CSH, Chuck ends, with some mood-lifting humour. Simone smiles and nods before kissing her wife. Then let's kick ass, she says before standing up. Everything all packed?
I believe so. I must say, though, finding storage for all the pink tag gifts we received, where the kids can't find, is going to be a challenge.
We got top-notch locks on the armory crates, Simone shrugs.
That's actually not a bad idea,
Chuck replies, in a mix of being amused and genuine consideration. The Terran laughs as she picks up the majority of the bags. We can buy a designated crate before we leave, Simone assures, before pressing the indicator to open the door.
Oh, right. That's true,
Chuck giggles. The door slides open, and the two depart their temporary love abode. Walking up to the bay doors, they pass on through. But before Simone can react, she is suddenly attacked by something sharply piercing. The smile twitches from her face as surprise and shock hits her. Chuck's eyes widen as the Terran's grip of several bags release several to clatter to the floor. Then, before another moment of comprehension of what just happened, a more eagerly clamps down on the redhead. Fuck, Jamie! Simone nearly scolds. Wow, we really need to get those tail claws of yours blunted a bit. Ouch! She grunts out a chuckle. Bending her knee, she sets the rest of the bags down, so that she can give the boy clinging onto her a big warm hug. Jamie's plume lowers slightly, as he adjusts his bite to a better position on his mother's shoulder, and undigs his tail grasper claws from her apologetically. Sorry, I know they should be in bed, but they were up late playing with my kids, and since you were coming up soon, I thought I might as well bring 'em here to greet ya, Jackie explains, as he rubs a hand behind his head. It's fine, Simone assures, as she bounces the boy in her arms and plants a kiss on the top of his head. SJ skitters up to Chuck to greet her as well. Though as the princess picks them up, she is surprised to see they were tough in their current state. Oh, goodness, she says, as she looks over the 3 yellow bows attached to a chitin plate. Thankfully, the bows are simple clip-ons that SJ can remove rather easily if they want to, and by their demeanour they seem fully willing to have them. You look so adorable, Chuck states, as she scratches at SJ, causing the plates to rattle, and bows to flutter. Looks like they weren't the only ones who got a makeover, Simone coos in absolute giddiness, while pointing at a sittings room. The calm, unbothered animal sits with her shaggy tail happily wagging. Attached to her collar is a big red bow, and most of her fur seems to have been recently brushed. Jack's eyes flash at the sight.
Stars! All dressed up to welcome us back,
she giggles, while walking up to pet the top of the animal's big head. Simone pulls back her head to look over Jamie as much as she can, to see if he has any special surprises as well. Seeing this, Jackie spares her the time. The girls put bows on his tail and head too, careful to not touch the ears, I made sure, and although he liked it, he kept taking them off and chewing on them. Not wanting him to choke or something, we decided not to chance it. He explains.
I see. Where are your girls at now?
Simone chuckles, as she carefully ruffles a hand on Jamie's head. Fell asleep like sacks of potatoes, the man reports. Seven's watching him there. So, we cool if there's a sleepover at your place tonight? The man asks on their daughter's behalf, though clearly looking forward to time alone with Donna. Sorry, I know you just wrapped up your honeymoon and everything, he added apologetically. Simone raises her eyetops in slight realization. That's fine. Yeah, wait, so they really were getting along with Jamie? No problems? She questions. Well, there was a bit of a slow start, but after the girls were told Jamie eats pizza, it was over real fast, the man laughs. Truly you and Donna's daughters, Simone cackles before giving the man a side hug. My baby's first sleepover. That's fucking awesome, she says, as she bounces the boy again. Welcome to the parenting experience. Careful you don't become the sleepover hub, though. You'll never know peace, Jackie jokes, before the group starts their way back to the housing unit. As they traverse, Simone let out a relieved, satisfied breath. Despite the obvious problems and tribulations ahead, at least there's still some time to relax and not have to worry about the universe falling into utter chaos. The Krieger ambassador sook my balls. Oh, come on!